Among Star Wars fans, Ki-Adi-Mundi is largely known for his sizable head, his role as the leader of the Galactic Marines, and his concern about the droid attack on the Wookiees. But there was more to his character than being a meme. As a matter of fact, Ki-Adi-Mundi was actually a pretty terrible guy, the embodiment of all the flaws of the Jedi, and above all, an utterly heartless man. In this video, we're going to look into why all my homies hate Ki-Adi-Mundi, and why he damn well deserved to get shot in the back. This video is brought to you by Surfshark. Surfshark is without a doubt the best VPN to keep you secure on the web. Reality is that these days we're spending a lot more time indoors and online, and for better or worse, the world is moving in that direction. This is why it's so important to encrypt your data, and Surfshark should be your go-to. Some of the many benefits include it being compatible with all platforms and on unlimited devices, meaning you can protect everything. No other VPN does this, by the way. Let's not forget that Surfshark also protects from those targeted ads that creep you out, and at the same time, lets you search for better Black Friday deals from different locations. And of course, everyone's favorite feature of VPN, watching Netflix from different countries. So if you're looking for a VPN with 24/7 customer support, a 30-day money-back guarantee, and strictly no logs, meaning no one, including Surfshark, can know what you're doing online, then make sure you click the link in the description below to secure yourself Surfshark's exclusive Black Friday 4-month free deal. Ki-Adi-Mundi was one of the first prequel-era Jedi that we, as fans, were introduced to. The very first, actually, as he appeared in the December 1998 comic Prelude to the Rebellion, the first issue of what would later be renamed Star Wars Republic. He's a very well-known character, but despite his infamy, many don't know a lot about who he was. We get very little about him in the films, and aside from landing at Point Rain, his appearances in Star Wars The Clone Wars were limited. Among Clone Wars fans, he's primarily known for having been the general in charge of the Galactic Marines, an elite clone unit led by the brutal Commander Bacara. In the past, we made videos about Bacara and the Marines and questioned whether they would be a good fit for Mundi, repeatedly concluding that Mundi and Bacara had two fundamentally different tactical outlooks. But while there were many ways in which Mundi and Bacara differed, being a piece of trash wasn't one of them, as we'll see shortly. First things first, let's take a look at Ki-Adi-Mundi's highly limited role in the movies. He generally only appears in Jedi Council scenes, but there's a pattern to those appearances. He's always screwing things up. In The Phantom Menace, when Qui-Gon first reports his battle with Darth Maul, Mundi was the first to deny that the return of the Sith was a possibility. In Attack of the Clones, Mundi denied it was possible for Dooku to have been behind assassination attempts on Padme Amidala because he used to be a Jedi and was thus incapable of such things. In Star Wars The Clone Wars, he convinced the Council to ignore Duchess Satine's request for Republic aid, was the first to accuse Ahsoka Tano, and nearly prevented Yoda from learning about Force Ghosts. Lastly, in Revenge of the Sith, his insistence that the Council focus on Kashyyyk led to Yoda going away from Coruscant at an incredibly crucial moment, thus dooming the Jedi Order. But why was Ki-Adi-Mundi so catastrophically wrong so often, and what does this have to do with him being a terrible person? Both him being terrible, as we'll get into in a moment, and him always being wrong were the result of the same flaw. He was the embodiment of the failures of the Jedi Council. Like Vrook Lamar before him, Mundi embraced the detached, dogmatic, and incredibly judgmental perversion of the light side that the Jedi Order often strayed toward, and it reflected both in his actions and his worldview. The worst effect of this mindset, and the reason why we think Mundi was so terrible, is how detached it made him. Now, emotional detachment was a large part of being a Jedi. One needed to put emotion aside to focus on the will of the Force. That isn't the same as being totally emotionless, however. As Anakin Skywalker said in Attack of the Clones, emotions like love and compassion were actually encouraged, as the Jedi recognized the importance of emotion in life. What the Jedi warned their students to avoid were strong emotions like passion, anger, and jealousy, and they also considered it important to consider any and all emotions secondary to the will of the Force. But Ki-Adi-Mundi apparently didn't get this nuance, because he was a total sociopath. Ki-Adi-Mundi either didn't allow himself to feel any emotion at all, or he denied that he felt emotion, neither of which was a good thing. While we know of no cases in which this made him overtly cruel, we do know of plenty in which it made his actions tone-deaf at best and morally questionable at worst. When his whole family was murdered during the Clone Wars, he passed it off with a shrug. When Anakin was mourning the supposed death of his master, Mundi's advice was that he just move on. And when his friends and comrades died of terrible wounds they had received in battle, he passed it off as just will of the Force. To understand how truly messed up Mundi was, we need to take a look at his backstory. Ki-Adi-Mundi was born on Syria, a remote, undeveloped world in the western reaches. His people, the Syrians, abhorred technology and maintained little contact with the Republic or the outside galaxy, though they were well aware of both. From birth, Mundi was seen as special, as the Syrians had extremely unbalanced birth rates, with a gender ratio of 1 male to 20 females, making male children a rarity. But while the Mundis were overjoyed by their luck in having a boy, young Ki-Adi put them in danger as well. In those days, Syrian raiders roamed the countryside attacking farms in a bid to kidnap young boys, and for 4 years, the Mundis lived in fear that they would lose their son. For this reason, the Mundis gave up Ki-Adi to the Jedi Order when the Wandering Knight stopped on Syria, as they hoped he would return as a knight to destroy the raiders. Despite being much older than most young Force sensitives accepted by the Jedi, 4-year-old Ki-Adi-Mundi was allowed to enter training as a youngling. As a Padawan, he was apprenticed to Grand Master Yoda and was the last ever Jedi to receive that honor. He quickly became known for his skill and he rose swiftly to the rank of Jedi Knight and then Master. As his family had hoped, he did indeed return to purge Syria of its raiders, and shortly before the Battle of Naboo, he received an appointment to the Jedi Council, filling a seat vacated by famed Jedi Sentinel Micah Giet. Ki-Adi-Mundi was a Jedi Watchman, which meant that he was permanently assigned as the protector of a sector and responsible for handling troubles within it. He was assigned to the Samagi sector, which included his home planet of Syria, where he spent most of his time. Due to the unbalanced birth rate of his species, the Jedi Council made an exception to the Order's ban on marriage, allowing him to have a family. Unlike the virgin Anakin Skywalker, who had only one wife and cared about her deeply, the Chad Ki-Adi-Mundi had 5 wives and 7 daughters between them, and he didn't care about a single one of them. This is where we get back to the point of Mundi being a total sociopath. Per the Jedi Code, Mundi wasn't allowed to form emotional attachments to any of his wives or daughters. However, he ended up going much further than that, as he appeared to not have cared about them at all. During the Clone Wars, Syria was attacked by the Commerce Guild, which devastated the natural beauty of the world and terrorized its population with armies of spider droids. At one point in the battle, Guild leadership even authorized the deployment of the Gosam Commandos to assassinate the planet's political leaders, throwing local governments into chaos and leading to even more bloodshed. Many Syrians died in the Battle of Syria, and among those murdered were Ki-Adi-Mundi's entire family. Now, most people would be pretty despondent at just losing one member of their family, never mind 12. Even Jedi mourn the deaths of those who were dear to them, but Ki-Adi-Mundi? Nah. He just didn't care. In fact, the reason we know about his family dying in this battle is because he told the story to Anakin Skywalker after the Battle of Jabim. And do you know what his point in telling was? It was that Anakin shouldn't mourn the deaths of so many of his friends because he had just lost his entire family, and since he wasn't bothered by it, Anakin shouldn't be bothered by his losses either. For context, the Battle of Jabim, which ended just a few days prior to this incident, claimed the lives of a dozen of Anakin's fellow Padawans, whose deaths he felt he was responsible for as the sole Jedi survivor of the battle. Additionally, it was then believed that Obi-Wan Kenobi, his master and the only father figure he had ever known, had also been killed in the battle, though in reality, Kenobi had been captured by Asajj Ventress. Anakin had not only lost a bunch of close friends, but also the only family he had left. When he turned to Ki-Adi-Mundi, the man who had been assigned as his temporary master in Kenobi's absence, the only advice he got was to just stop caring. According to Mundi, it was wrong to be sad about people being murdered because, apparently, their deaths were the will of the Force. So that's why Ki-Adi-Mundi was a massive piece of Sith, and in retrospect, probably a much better fit for the Galactic Marines than we had given him credit for before. But what do you think? Are there other Jedi whose stories you want to hear? Are there any other Jedi who you feel were as sociopathic as Ki-Adi-Mundi? Let us know in the comment section below. And just before you jet off, guys, make sure you check out all the links in the description below, including our Relax Jack music channel, where you can check out the music we use in our videos here on Geetsly's and use them for your own creative projects too. And if you just want to join our wider community, check us out on our main Geetsly's Discord and our Geetsly's gaming network, where you can chat to myself and other Star Wars fans and play games with other Star Wars fans respectively. Anyways guys, as always, thank you so much for watching and I hope to see you in the next video.